So first we'll start off with the Eastern Conference. So first I'll run down the seeding as far as right now. What's the seeding? So the current 6th seed in the Eastern Conference is the Miami Heat. Current 7th seed, the Boston Celtics. Current 8th, Charlotte. Current 9th seed, Indiana. And current 10th seed, the Washington Wizards. So the reason why we threw in the 6th seeded Miami Heat is because they could potentially be very impacted by this play-in tournament. Now, Miami has had a pretty up and down year in terms of their record, but there's one thing for sure is that when healthy, they have shown they are one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference because of Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, the young players, Goran Dragic. The Miami Heat have talent on their team, but again, the record doesn't really speak to that. They're half a game above the Boston Celtics, who are the 7th seed, which means they're very close to potentially playing in this play-in tournament. Even though, again, they have clearly the better talent, the better roster, and their team got plagued with COVID and injuries. That's why their record isn't that great. Like at the beginning of the year, Miami was playing with like a G League squad or something.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So again, and then you saw when Jimmy Butler and Bam came back, like they had the roster back. They got to like the 4th seed or something like that. And I think injuries kind of came back to bite them again. But otherwise, I mean, they're clearly better than any other team in the East play-in tournament. Like,
besides Boston.
Maybe besides Boston. You know what? Let me actually talk about Boston too, because they're in a very similar situation to Miami, where when healthy, again, they're one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Like behind Philadelphia, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee, it's Boston and Miami. Like that's what it should have been. Which, by the way, screwed up our predictions. Predictions big time.
Dude, our predictions are gone, bro. That was gone in the first week, bro. After that, never recovered, man.
Listen, man. Freaking New York screwed everything up.
Yo, you and your hate train against New York, bro.
Bro, it's not hate, it's real. But back to the Boston Celtics, another team who I definitely hate. But
I got you there.
But
I'm cool with that.
If we gotta be real, they are a very good team. And again, when healthy, they should be a playoff team. However, again, they got hit with COVID, especially with their best player, Jason Tatum. We see what Jason Tatum can do. The man just dropped 60 points.
Crazy.
Yeah, he's crazy, insane. And Kemba was hurt. So again, the Celtics, and they're a 7th seed right now. So I personally think for these two teams in particular, it's just kind of not fair that they have to play in this play-in tournament when they're clearly better than the rest of the play-in, the rest of the guys in this play-in. But what say you about these guys?
Yeah, man, this is why pretty much the Western Conference playoff race or play-in tournament race, I guess, is much better than the Eastern Conference because of the fact that you have two legitimate teams in the Eastern Conference play-in picture, I guess. And then after that, it's kind of not great. We'll talk about those teams after this. But the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics, to your point, are in two very similar situations in the sense that both got hit with COVID and both have been pretty much injured throughout the year and have just been up and down throughout the year, right? And both teams have kind of also been disappointing when they've had full rosters. Again, that has to do a lot with the lack of time, like the rosters actually spent together.
Also, the effects of COVID, the lingering effects of COVID also.
Yeah, even for us, like watching a guy like for us, watching our favorite team, the Raptors, watching a guy like Fred VanVleet struggle mightily with, coming back from COVID. He's kind of turned the corner from that. But, it's definitely very real and it definitely plays a big factor into, these teams. And so having these two teams who are clearly, Eastern Conference contenders, play in this play-in tournament and potentially one or even both of them, because, it's 2 games, right? 1 or 2 games. You never know what could happen. Either one or both of them, being booted out of the East playoff race is just going to tank completely the NBA's ratings, right? Especially for the Eastern Conference, which was already suffering post LeBron, right? Yeah. So, having these two teams with the potential to get, kicked out of the playoffs is not great for the NBA at all.
Yeah, it's not. And again, when you're talking about a team who probably doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs, I want to bring up another team in the East play-in who could be potentially impacted by this play-in tournament existing is Washington. Washington has been on a hot streak as of late. I mean, what is it? Scott Brooks is one coach of the month, man. He went 12-5
yeah.
in April. Like
Dude, I think this guy's job is safe, unfortunately.
Bro, I don't know how. Like
My prediction might be busted for Scott Brooks.
like the Wizards and were garbage to start the season. Absolutely horrendously garbage. And they're still not a good team. They didn't do anything. Like they didn't really do anything at the trade deadline besides maybe get Daniel Gafford and
Who's been great?
who. I mean,
Shout out Daniel Gafford. He's been really good.
he's been good for them. Again, they really needed a center because they lost Thomas Bryant. And again, they do have Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, who we did talk about a couple of episodes ago. So if you haven't checked that out, definitely check it out. Who, again, we said the Wizards could be a potential dark horse playoff team if they did make it to the playoffs. And this is kind of the reason why. Like, you're seeing the crazy numbers that Russell Westbrook is putting up right now, and this is what he's capable of doing. And when he's motivated, if he has a chance to get into the playoffs, I think Westbrook and Bradley Beal are going to take it. But the problem is, and I mentioned it, they were garbage for the whole season, except until the month of April. And it's a little unfair that because they got hot at the right time, that should automatically erase what happened at the beginning of the year. No. Like, I think it's great for them, for the Wizards and their fans, that, hey, they have a chance to get to the playoffs. It's some positivity in what's been a pretty shitty year for them in general. But why should that take away the opportunity from teams like Boston and Miami, who have earned their right to be in the positions that they are in? Like, it's not like Washington's in a position like that Charlotte's in, where it's like, it's no big deal. They make the playoffs, they make it. If they don't, they don't. It's been a good year for them. Or even like Indiana. Indiana, they've had a lot of rough stretches this season, and again, they don't really deserve to make it to the playoffs. So they pretty much accepted their fate. But Washington, the way they're playing is that they're trying to get into the playoffs, and I just think it shouldn't be that way, that they take away an opportunity from teams that clearly deserve it more.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what the NBA envisioned when creating the play-in tournament. A team like the Washington Wizards, who, despite the fact that they were garbage pretty much for the whole season, and now that they're the 10th seed, they have enough talent on the roster to be an Eastern Conference dark horse team, as we mentioned a couple of episodes ago, because of the fact that after the first 5 teams in the Eastern Conference, Brooklyn, Miami, Boston, Milwaukee, who's the last team? Philly, right? Besides those 5 teams, no other Eastern Conference team has a duo like Washington has. And now, despite the fact that they were garbage throughout the whole season, I would say I think they're going to make the playoffs just because of how hot they are right now, and because of the fact that they have a more capable duo than any other team right now in the play-in tournament, except for Boston, obviously.
I can see them beating Charlotte. Like, I can see Washington beating Charlotte and beating Indiana, honestly. Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. They have a great shot at making it to the playoffs. But, again,
exactly. And that's my point, right? And, fans of Charlotte, especially, because the Indiana Pacers have kind of just been decimated with injuries, and it's not really been a great year for them. I think they would rather just take a draft pick right now. It's just been complete all around garbage show for them. But the Charlotte Hornets, man, like, their fans have been starving for some excitement in that city for a while. And now that they actually got a young, exciting roster that's making headlines all day, that can make headlines in the NBA playoffs and can give the Charlotte Hornets fans like some hope for the future and for, the present, them being booted out in the fashion that they could be booted out by a team like the Washington Wizards will definitely not sit right with Charlotte fans, especially, I think.
I mean, it's one way to look at it, but at the same time, for a team like Charlotte, they're more so like excited that they have a good team, like a young team that they can build on. If they miss out on the playoffs, it's not going to be the end of the world for them. But I think if a team like Boston misses out, then yeah, for sure, your point is very valid.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a big deal if they miss the playoffs, but I think my point is more so like the way they would miss the playoffs in this format, right? I think that would not sit well. Obviously, if they got like the 9th or 10th seed regular, in any other season, they would be cool with it. But to get the 8th seed after working so hard and having this much excitement around the team, and then just being kicked out in 1 or 2 games or whatever it is, I don't think it will be great for, I don't think Charlotte fans will be too happy about that.